We're going to start it off with Director of Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, Jackie Reyes. And I'm going to give you a little snippet about Director Reyes. Welcome. In October 2021, Mayor Muriel Bowser appointed Jackie Reyes and Janice as the Director of Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, also known as MOCA. Director Reyes is the first Latina to be appointed to this position. Before serving as Director of MOCA, she served as Director of the Mayor's Office of Latino Affairs, MOVA, for 6 years. Not only is Director Reyes one of, not many, she's a few in the proud, as we say in the Marine Corps, but she's an advocate of veterans, of women, and of people of color. So give her a round of applause. She's about to come up and give you some nice words.
Always a pleasure having women under. Yes, my name is Jackie Reyes Yanes, and I serve as the pleasure of Mayor Muriel Bowser here in Washington, D.C. And I was appointed the first Salvadorian Director of Latino Affairs, and now I'm the first Latina to run the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. And what you'd be saying, what is Community Affairs? Well, Community Affairs is an umbrella of all of the special interest constituency office, like Veterans Affairs. So it's a great pleasure to be here on behalf of the mayor woman, of a woman that happens to be a mayor in Washington, D.C., African American at that. You know, I think I feel very proud when I feel into these rooms where women are leading. And I will be the miss right now. I have my Director on Caribbean Affairs here, and also Natasha Dupree, who's also representing our women's policy. So she's here also in this room. And I would like to say thank you to Elliot, that, you know, he always stepped back and he's like, Elliot, Tony, come on. He always empower women, and I feel proud of working with this talented team here at the mayor's office. So on the Mayor Muriel Bowser, I told you we have 14 constituency offices. So it's the mayor has opened up spaces where all our constituents feel free and feel safe to talk about issues that, you know, that we can come and address at the level of the executive office of the mayor. So I would like to say also thank you. I mentioned Elliot for the great work that he's doing at Veterans Affairs, and Tony, that is very dear to her heart, this, and she makes sure that we come here and we listen to this platform. Thank you, and thank you everybody for being here. On behalf of Mayor Bowser, I would like to say mil gracias.
And as she mentioned, Elliot. Director Elliot Domingo, Marine Corps veteran, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for attending another successful DC Women's Veterans Day. Right? This is third or fourth? Third, all right. And as you can see, DC is open. So we are open. You know, the pandemic, I think the pandemic made our community stronger. It was a struggle, but we got through it. Mayor Bowser led us through this, kept our office with the same resources to not only maintain our programs, but expand them. So our services, our programs since 2020, we've done 5 million in claims. Stuart Lee, one of our claims officers, back there. So that means every month $5 million is coming into this district for our veterans, for the benefits they deserve. And we've also done got this number got today, 10,765 free trips to our Vet Friends program. So that is another huge program that we appreciate. And I want to thank MOCA Director Reyes for attending remarks, Mo Edu. I want to thank Olivia Nunn and Gary Bacher-Mullins for being on our panel. And Folk will provide the photo booth. Yes, right. But please get your picture done. And finally, I want to thank the true kind of stars of today from my staff, Tony Williams and Fallon Williams, who put this together and make this successful. So let's get the man off the stage and hand it over to the women.
Oh, sure. Yes. Oh, yeah. Would you like to?
Thank you.
All right, there we go. All right. All right, how y'all doing?
That's great.
Cool. All right, and shout out to Vet Center. We got Ron Hanley back there. He's always a supporter of women veterans and always taking care of the women, veteran families as well. All right, we're about to kick off the panel. Let's see. Hello?
All right.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. So we're going to do the introduction of the panel, and each panelist will be introducing themselves. I'm going to start off with Moji Solo Adu, which she does. She's the CEO of She Wins Network and Love Energy Service. And you can tell us a little bit more about you.
Hi, beautiful people. How you feeling today? Woo! Hi, my name is Moji Sola Adu, and I am the owner and founder of She Wins Network, empowering women through their journey, and also Love Energy Services. She Wins partners with the DC Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs to provide yoga mentorship for transitioning veterans and also resources. So I provide mentorship, yoga, and also some life coaching for individuals that need help to navigate their lives. Because transition isn't easy for everybody. Some people have a cakewalk and some people don't. So it's better when you have somebody at least to hold your hand through the process. So we provide that. Also with Love Energy Services, I provide Reiki and holistic practices to help people deal with complex trauma. I also am a former misplaced homeless veteran. And it wasn't easy having a child. So making sure that veterans don't go through some of the issues that I went through. Back in my day, there wasn't a lot of resources. Also with homeless shelters. So partnering with them to make sure they have resources, making sure that veterans are seen and they are heard. Because a lot of times when we go through service, we lose ourselves and we don't know what our voice sounds like again. So reconnecting with your voice, reconnecting with yourself, and realizing who are you now? After the military is over, after you've done attaching yourself to family, friends, all these different things, who are you? What is that layer? So my whole thing is that, you know what, no matter what facet that you served in the military, your service counts. It doesn't matter whether you served overseas or you served at home. You signed the dotted line, you gave your life, and I just want to say that I see you, okay? Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Nunn and I am a retired United States Army officer. And I am the owner and founder of Olivia Nunn Communications. And I am heavily involved in the military community. I am involved in numerous ways. I serve as an executive director of a nonprofit. And I am also an ambassador to another nonprofit. I am an executive vice president of another nonprofit. Kind of the drift here. I'm an ambassador and heavily involved with quite a few other nonprofits. I work with the Women's Memorial. You might have seen me also doing quite a few interviews with Fox. I talk a lot of topics about women empowerment, mental health. I am a mental health advocate, and that comes from my own story and walk. As I retired last year, after doing 20 years, I found myself being very intimate and understanding suicide in a way. Transition is very tough. And I understood transition in a way because it was my business for the Army. My last job in the Army was U.S. Army Soldier for Life. I served as the director of communication, and I knew all the players. And the truth is, and I say this without bravado, but a lot of people know me. I served as the podcast host on behalf of the United States Army. So my face is out there. I am very prolific on social media. And I know the players and I know the game of transition.
Now is the time for action.
And yet, I couldn't find the resources and the help when I finally uttered the words help. Because in my transition, at the same time, I went through an unexpected divorce. And that found me on the floor, broken. And I started to plan my suicide. And when I needed help, and that also happened during COVID, I couldn't find help. And it wasn't that the resources didn't want to help me, they did. They were just tapped out. And I finally understood, one, why somebody would want to go through suicide, and two, how there truly isn't enough resources for our military community. There isn't enough resources for the service member, for the veteran, for our military spouses, and for our children. And so I want to be able to use the notoriety that I've gained in my voice as a communicator, as a storyteller, to be able to shine a light in the places that is uncomfortable, in it where it's hard to talk about. And we are here in the nation's capital region, where we can talk about those things because, let's be honest, this is where all the nonprofits reside.
Yeah.
So let's use our collective energy and our voices to shine a light on those uncomfortable topics, and let's do something, because it takes all of us. And when I say us, I'm talking about the military community, I'm talking about the civilian community, the money makers, the politicians, to make change. And it's also talking about our leaders within the military, to break the silence, to end the stigma, and to drive change. On top of that, I became a beauty pageant queen, so currently I am Miss New York, and next year I will be Miss Virginia Petite. All that to say, I'm also a mother of 2 beautiful children, and I look forward to having this conversation today, and I look forward to meeting you if I haven't had the opportunity, so thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Carrie Bachner-Mullins. I just wanted to say before I start, thank you. Thank you to Tony, thank you for Fallon, thank you to Elliot, and thank you for everyone being here and wanting to listen to us and to see what pearls of wisdom we have and walk out of here a little bit smarter. No, just understanding us and where we come from. Let's see, what would you like to know about me? I like to take long walks on the No. I'm CEO of Bachner Group. We're a national security consulting firm here in Washington, D.C., incorporated and actually headquartered also in D.C. I consult on various topics, but all to include national security. So any adversary or bad actor that wants to do the United States harm, I consult on that basis through the White House, the executive branch, and the private sector. I am an Air Force veteran. Did I already mention that? Hua?
No, you
Okay.
didn't.
Hua? Okay, all right. I did not retire. I always say if I would have stayed, they would have court-martialed me because I am slightly a maverick. But I am also a pilot, a private pilot. The Air Force deemed that I was way too small to become a pilot in the Air Force because I couldn't reach the rudders. In any case, I'm also a proud mom of a 2.5-year-old boy named Atticus. And let's see what else. I'm just happy to be here amongst these ladies and everyone here. So I will turn the mic over to my colleague, I will hold for questions.
Thank you all. We can't wait to hear your answers to these amazing questions that I've cooked up for you. And also, we have a board outside. Speaking of questions, please, before you leave, pick a sticky note up, put how you feel, respond to those questions, because we really want to know at the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs how can we be more effective and how we can expand services that we already have that exist. Also, my name is Tony Williams. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I have been with the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs since 2019. Also, I'm a twin. She served in the Navy. Don't know why. But you know, hey. Outside of the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, I am a powerhouse and a voice for Black women veterans that happen to be queer. And I have a podcast as well. Look me up, Queen Motivator Podcast. And I just want to take a little bit off of what Olivia said when it comes to mental health. I am a true advocate of mental health in our workspace. Me and Elliot both take mental health seriously. We're all veterans. Our workplace is very unique because we actually have mindful leadership where we put the veteran first and we still are able to accomplish our mission and to be out here with you guys and understand what's going on with you to be able to assist. So, let's get right to the nitty gritty, okay? And I'm going to start with Miss Moji Sola Adu. I want to ask, what are some valuable resources needed when transitioning out of active duty?
Inquiring minds want to know. This is a very good question. The number one thing is understanding this whole process of saying, I am about to leave the military that clothed me, that fed me, that told me what I need to do, and now you're throwing me with a pack of wolves, you know, trying to understand that concept. Because a lot of people have a misconception, oh, it's going to be the same thing, my pay grade is going to be the same. Oh no, your pay is going to be a little bit cut versus what you used to make, right? Even though you were at a certain rank, when you're going into the civilian or you're transitioning, if you're not transitioning to the federal government, that whole identity is over, right? It's part of you, but it's not the same thing. Trying to understand the terminology of how do I transfer what I did, whether it's leadership, whether it was facilitating an event, maybe it was training, how do I transfer my skill set over to the civilian background or non-military component? That's one. Number two is identifying what are my skill sets. Because all I did, some people went in when they were like 16. You know, all they know was the military. How do we deprogram ourselves or unlearn certain things in order to transition? Understanding that the civilian or non-military, facilities are not going to be dress right dress, right? You might be an excellent worker, you might be on it, but maybe that staff is like, chill out. You're kind of high strung, chill out. So understanding it's going to be a shift mentally, physically, and spiritually for some people out there. So understanding that you're about to go into a change is inevitable. So being able to adapt. And most military are able to adapt because we had multiple jobs in the military, right, when we served. Sometimes you were at your MOS, but then at the same time you were doing finance, you were doing something else. You might have been gardening, who knows? You were digging a ditch, you're doing something, right? So understanding that, there's going to be a plan A, plan B, plan C. Understand that you have to be your own advocate. Sometimes they have TAPs, yes, in certain areas. In different branches, they call different things. But when you go to TAPs, they're supposed to make sure that you have an assessment knowing everything that you need to do before you step out into this world, this unknown world that you're about to step into. But the situation is sometimes, depending if it's officer heavy or it's enlisted heavy, depending on what the situation, sometimes certain resources aren't available. Or maybe you just don't know. Or maybe you think, oh, I'm going to be good. Or somebody just checks off your stuff and you're like, now what? What happens? So making sure that you're on it. Any resources that are available for you, make sure you gather them. You might not need them at that moment, but when you get out, eventually you'll need them. Making sure you're connected with one source. Make sure you're connected with all the allies that you need. Make connections while you're in the military, because once those people get out, you might be able to contact them to help you with resources. Make sure you know your local VA hospital, you know your local vet center, Make sure that you know other organizations in the community that are veteran, because sometimes the VA might not offer certain things that you need for your needs or for the needs of your family. And making sure that family, because it's not just you. You're bringing a whole family and maybe even a dog or a pet, right? So making sure you're connected with all the resources you need before you transition out. Also financially. Ooh, this is the big one. Financially. That money's not going to come the same. It's going to be different. How do I budget now that my resources are shorter? Or do I have a job lined up? It's always good. She is the queen of networking right here, Olivia, okay? When you're in any space, you got to understand, why are we networking? I know it's hard. We have introverts. We got people that don't want to talk to people. It's okay. But understand that these connections are needed in order for your success. Because remember, you're one person away from your blessing. You never know who's in the room that can help you to your next step. And never be ashamed to ask for help. It does not make you look weak. Closed mouth don't get fed, right? So open your mouth and be your own advocate, because sometimes we think, oh, we're in the Army, I got my battle buddies. Sometimes battle buddies are not going to be emotional available for you because they're dealing with their own PTSD, or they're dealing with their own stress, or some of them are just coming back from deployment, a whole bunch of different things. And understand that our friendships might shift after that. So making sure you have your core people, you make sure that you understand finances, get with somebody that can do budgets for you, get an accountant, and make sure that you're not living outside of your means. Because when those bills come, they have no empathy or mercy, right? So making sure you have that, making sure that your family is together, making sure you have therapy set up for you. While you're getting out of the military, you have your therapy set up, you have everything that you need. Because even though you feel like, I'm good, I'm all right, I'm tough, I got it. Most of the time, we're just a shell, and we're not truly living. We are doing everything someone else told us. So now you're trying to figure out who you are, where's your next step, and make sure you get coaches. Get coaches, get mentors that have already been through it, that can guide you and help you navigate. Because you can't do everything on your own. And a lot of us that are nurturers and givers, we are sometimes, because we're in service, we're always going to be in service even when we get out. But don't overextend yourself. You still have to get your stuff together. So just be mindful of your mental health, all the things that you need. Get your finances together. Get your family together. Where are you moving? Maybe you deployed somewhere. Where are you moving to? Where are the good schools for my children? Does my spouse have a job secured if we move here? What are the expenses for moving? What are all the things? Am I going to still be able to hold the household down after we get out of here? And to make sure that your family is your team, okay? No matter what's going on, your family is your team. So you're a leader in the military, but you're a leader in your family. Making sure that in your family, everybody's on the same accord. Things might change. You might have to get new friends. You might not be able to get that bag today. You know, we might not be able to get that car today, but you know, we'll work it out, right? So making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, and it's scary, but everything in life is scary sometimes. But trust that no matter if you get your ducks in a row, it won't be as hard. And please speak up. Your voice matters. If you're going through things, make sure you tell somebody. And especially speaking of like military sexual trauma, dealing with MST, get your stuff in. Go see, put your claim in. If not, as soon as you get out of the military, make sure you tell somebody. Tell somebody when you're in. Let people know what you're going through.
Now is the time for action.
Make sure you either get your claim in before you exit that building and everyone signs off, so it's an easy transition in the VA. You don't want to go like me 10 years just trying to get your paperwork and just getting your benefits. Because, and the other thing is, you might think you're okay, but them benefits are for your family and for you down the road. Because I'm going to tell you, as you get older, I mean, things don't work the same. You know, you get cracks and snap crackles and pops, and you can't get up the stairs anymore. It's different. So making sure you take care of you and understand that rest, we were going like robots. We didn't know what rest was. And if you come from a cultural background, like I'm Nigerian, I'm African, if you come from a background, or you just come from a working family that doesn't know what rest is, And then you get in the military, you really don't know what rest is. So now making sure you take care of your body and being aware of your body so you can show up for everyone. If you don't show up for yourself, you can't show up for somebody. You can't work on being depleted, right? So thinking about those different things when we transition out. Because transition isn't just like, oh, okay, cool. Same situation, same formula. No, you got to switch up the formula. So you come out a winner. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm sorry it was long-winded. Love you. I'm going to give it over to Olivia.
So I'm gonna move it from the strategic level. So obviously, you know, like I said, I came from U.S. Army Soldier for Life, which is in the business of transition. And I'm going to be honest, and I talk about this, and I say this all the time if you follow me on social media, and I'm very authentic. You have to own your transition. So you have a part in this scenario and in this equation. You have ownership in this. What do I mean by that? You have to be part of this equation. You have to be present. So what do I mean? U.S. Army Soldier for Life says 24 months before you transition, whether you ETS or you retire, you have to start. So that means you need to go to, for Soldier for Life, that's Transition Assistance Program. So before you exit, you need to start. By regulation, 12 months before you exit, you must attend that 1-week course. We also say go early and go often. No, by the way, if you're married, your spouse is authorized to attend. You are allowed to go as many times as you want. It's not a one-time course because they throw a lot of information at you in that 1-week course. And we know that you're not going to digest that information in that 1 week because you still have this thing called the JOB. You got your NCOs, your officers still hounding you to do your job. Because let's be honest, work doesn't end until your replacement shows up. And in a perfect world, your replacement shows up 90 days when you're on the loss, right? But that doesn't happen. They're still counting on you until literally the day you leave. And so they're gonna still call you. And then if in my case, my unit was still calling me even after I left. So the truth is, just like Mo talked about, you have to take care of yourself, right? There's a lot of means that are out there, right? Fill your cup first before you can take care of other people. If you've flown before, they always talk about put on your mask before you can help someone else. That's the same thing. You have to help yourself first. So go to your TAP programming for a reason and think about the many different ways that you think you're going to become when you grow up, right? It's all about who are you going to be when you take off that uniform. And here's the thing, you don't have to know. You don't have to know who you're going to be because there's this thing called life. It's going to flex, it's going to change, it's going to bend, and you're going to flow with it. And here's the other part. That job that you're going to take, or if you're going to go to the education route, and if you talk to any officer who tells you this, that first degree alignment that you're going to go, you're going to change it. You're going to change whatever programming that you're going to study for numerous times. That first job you're going to take, that isn't your forever job. You don't have a branch assignment manager who's going to tell you, guess what, it's time to move in PCS. It doesn't happen. You don't like the company you're working for? Guess what? You're the state. You can decide when it's time to leave. Because here's the thing, you're the veteran. You are worthy. You are coming with skills. And I just had this conversation on LinkedIn the other day that messaged me. I hear a lot of this, and I want to put this to rest, because this is me again, being authentic, and I'm going to give it to you real. And I'm going to squash this. I really hate when I hear this, well, Olivia, you're an officer and you're a lieutenant colonel, so you have it made, and I was just enlisted and I've got nothing to offer. Well, F that. I'm really tired of hearing this enlisted officer mentality. Like, the backbone of the military is enlisted. Yes, there was a paycheck difference. The reason why is because I was given the vast difference of guiding and mentoring and leading, and it was an awesome responsibility. It was the responsibility, and that's what my check was all about. Because my career could end, right? That's what it was about. I wasn't the expert. I was the manager of people. That was my responsibility. But the expert of doing things was my soldiers. They could do circles around me. They could tear down that vehicle and put it back together. I couldn't tell you one part from another. I relied on them. That's the difference. And the difference is, this is why you needed to go to TAP. You had to figure out the lingo, right? Here's an example. Program managers, right? It's the same thing that you were doing in the military. You just have to know that that word that you were doing in the military is the same thing that they're doing in program management. You just need to know the civilian language. There are a ton of nonprofits and companies that are out there that are on your side that will help you as you transition to do a lot of these programs for free to set you on the right path. There's an organization called IVMF out of Syracuse that will set you on the right course if program management is what you want to do. In your last 6 months, teach you how to do program management, and the only thing you have to pay for is the exam on the backside. Program management courses are very expensive. What did I just say? Program management, they're going to get you through the course for free. $0 out of your pocket. You just paid for the course. Not the course, excuse me, the test at the end. Like, that's just an example of great programs that are out there. But here's the part. You have to show up, because transition is part of your responsibility. There's so many different programs that are out there. You just have to show up. And guess what? There are a ton of people that are like me that give this transition type of experience and nugget worth information all the time on social media. I mean, follow me on LinkedIn. It's what I do. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, like, my face is all over on LinkedIn, because that's what I did on social media, right? Another case in point, resourcing, right? I will say this. Your net worth is your net worth. So if you ain't on social media, I'm sorry. I'm going to hit you over the head. Like, we are in the technology era. You need to be on social media. Point blank. Whether you're doing it to put on your next, selfie game like I do, or if you're just doing it to stalk other people's selfie, I don't care. Get on social media. And here's the other reason, from a cyber perspective. People will take over your persona, so own your persona. And if you're telling me that you can't do it because you're scared, then I'll tell you one thing. Get on one platform. I do not get paid by them. Get on LinkedIn. It's a business platform for a reason. Get on it. It's free, right? Especially as a veteran, you can get on it for free and do it, right? I'm called the networking connector queen for a reason, because that's what I do. So get on social media and develop your network. And you can't do it when you're transitioning. You can't expect to show up on your transition and go, here I am, get me a job. It doesn't work like that. It's why we say 24 months out, start doing it. That's what you need to do. Show up on LinkedIn and start learning the ropes, so that when you go through your transition experience, you have developed your brand, your transition, your network 24 months out. So when you start asking for that transition process and you start saying, hey, I'm 6 months out, I'm ready for a job, they can offer that to you. Because previous to that, they really can't. Corporations can't give you a job because you're really not in that window. But because you did your homework before, because you did all the things that you're supposed to, you got to know the culture of that company, you know where you're going, because you did all that research, you're in a better place. Because you're starting to understand who you want to be when you grow up. Because for a long time, you were the identity of that uniform. And trust me, you might sit there and say, oh, but it's not me. I know who I am. I'm John, or I'm Susie. Yeah, you really don't know until that moment has arrived when you're taking off that uniform for the last time. Trust me, it'll hit you. It will hit you. And if you don't believe me, find me on LinkedIn and send me that message, and we'll have a cup of coffee, and you're gonna tell me, yeah, you're right, Olivia. Because I'll tell you what, it's going to hit you. And the other part is, you signed up for the military for a reason. It's the biggest badass tribe ever, and it cannot be replicated anywhere else. You're not going to find it in corporate America, as much as they're going to try. Mental health is a huge topic in so many complex ways. So when you leave, you have to stay connected. And you're going to need to stay connected because there's going to be a part of you that's going to ask these questions. What am I doing? What was the reason that I did what I did? And if you don't know how to answer those questions, you're going to find yourself in some dark places. So you have to give back in some way. So this is why you need to find your tribe again. There are so many organizations that are out there, and I guarantee you one of those organizations is going to fit your personality. Wounded Warrior Project, Headstrong. I mean, there's a plethora. There are 55,000 nonprofits that deal with the military in some capacity. I guarantee you, one of them is in your neighborhood, and one of them has a personality that's going to fit yours, that needs your help. If you like to rock every weekend, I guarantee you there's one that's out there. You want to give back to the boys and girls in your neighborhood? There's one. Whatever it is, you need to reconnect with like-minded people that were veterans. And then here's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm a storyteller, if you can't tell. Here's the statistics. 0.45% of our nation serves in any capacity in any one of our branches of service. When you ask our current recruits why they are serving, they said, because they had a positive conversation with a relative. Huh? And you're patting yourself on the back, yay! But you gotta peel that back with a relative. Aunt, uncle, dad, grandma, grandpa, mother, father. So when you let that sink in, we're asking the same families to give. It's generational. We can't keep doing that. We haven't had the draft since Vietnam. This is an all-volunteer force, and that's going to go away. We also have an epidemic going on in our nation. We don't have enough youth that are qualified to join our military force. Everything from mental health problems to obesity. Because we have children that are growing up in a technology era. They know more about how to do this than they know how to go play outside. And that is affecting their ability to join our military. Oh, by the way, they're brilliant. These same kids are being sought after by the top tier 1 alpha schools, your Harvards, your Stanfords, your Yales. And they're offering them lucrative scholarships. So if you're a child, you go to Harvard, or you can join the military. What do you think you're going to pick? And here's the other thing. Us veterans, we suck at storytelling. We just do. So it's not just me, the public affairs officer that worked at U.S. Army Soldier for Life, that tells the Army story. It's your job as a veteran to tell the story. Why did you join? What was the greatest honor and why you joined? Right? The good, bad, and indifferent. You have to tell it all. You have to help me and everyone next to you to inspire the next generation to serve. We all know why this is the greatest country, but we have to tell the other 99% why this is the greatest country. Right? This isn't about politics. You can agree to disagree why we went over to Iraq.
Now is the time for action.
We served our nation, right? We understood the price of why we raised our right hand to defend and support the Constitution, not the man or the woman that's going to sit in that seat, the Constitution, and wherever that mission takes us across the world. That is the inspiration that we have to inspire the next generation to live up to. And you have to help me do that. That is the resourcing game that we have to get across. And here's the other thing. The military is a giant resource. You go through that door called the military. It's called resource. And you come out through that doorway as a changed person. You come out with skills. You come out money to go to college on the other side. And you're a changed man or woman. And you become a leader. That is the end game.
I have a different, thank you, Olivia. You're amazing. You know that. Carrie, I have a different question for you. How long after transitioning out of service did you open a business or have gainful employment? And how did you navigate that?
So, right after I left the military, I packed my bags and I came to DC and I decided that I wanted to change the world. I wasn't sure how or what, so I unfortunately didn't look at the resources. We didn't have social media back then, so I was a little bit older. I left the military in 2003. And I'm still not on social media, everyone, so please don't throw stones. I'm old school. So in any case, so I packed my bags, came up to DC, and I said, I'm just gonna change the world. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I went on USA Jobs and filled out a bunch of stuff and a bunch of jobs, and somebody called me up. I guess they felt sorry for me. And they said, why don't you come in and this, I think this was like 2 weeks later, why don't you come in and you know, interview for a job. I mean, truth be told, I tell this story all the time. I had no idea what job I was interviewing for because I applied to so many. And I didn't want to ask them on the phone because I didn't want them to think she's not paying attention. So what I did was I wore my Sunday best, but and for me, I'm Jewish, so it's just all black. And I brought my Bible, which is the InStyle magazine because I'm from South Florida. And I showed up about a half an hour early, still not knowing what job I was interviewing for. So I sat there and they were asking a plethora of questions I had no answers to. Like, have you ever worked on Capitol Hill? I'm like, what? Oh. Ask me a question I know, like, who's Dolce & Gabbana? Things like that. That was my inside voice. And then finally he said to me, what do you want to do in 5 years? And I said, well, in 5 years I'm gonna have your job. And he said, oh, okay. And I said, well, think about that. In 5 years, you don't want to be here. You want to hire somebody that's a quick study, and then you want to leave and leave it to them. And I'm that person. And I remember walking out of there thinking, A, I don't know what job I interviewed for, and B, I didn't get the job. I'm going back to Miami. That's it. 2 weeks later, I got the job, and that was at Homeland Security, and I was a senior advisor to the Undersecretary for Intelligence. That was the job. Then 3 weeks later, the UK foil plot had occurred. And then I have many stories I could tell, many of like me not knowing anything. But in any case, very quickly I gained employment. But I say that because, you know, just these two ladies were talking about you got to believe in yourself. You do. You got to believe in yourself. It's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, right? But you got to believe in yourself and you got to reach out. You got to reach out and you got to ask for help. And I know a lot of veterans, just folks, you know, that are currently serving in the military, we don't like to reach out because we got it. You know, no one's going to tell us what to do because we served our country. What do you know? Well, it's important, you know, and it's important to network. It's important. You never know too many people. So I don't remember all of the question, but I think that was it. Oh, and then I left DHS, and I decided to do my own thing. And I did that in 2010, and it's 2022 now, and I'm still going strong. And what I like is I didn't go through TAPS, or maybe I did, but I don't really remember. And I didn't know any resources. I didn't do all of the process like I want to say your normal veteran would do, because I'm not normal. However, I realized that when I got to the private sector, how people see veterans. And that's, I think, what motivated me to want to, I've always given back, because my mom was very big on paying it forward. But for me, I realized that people saw veterans in a different light. They saw them as used goods, damaged, not qualified. And so I took that upon myself to say, I'm going to give back. And I'm going to give back to the veteran community first and foremost. Of course, women, minorities, but veterans first. And so a couple of years ago, I was asked by the former director of Veteran Affairs, the advisory, or mayor's advisory, to just sit on the board. And of course, I said absolutely. But outside of that, I've made sure that I was a junior league for Washington. I did that for 9 years, but I also made it my business to ensure that whatever we were working on, there was some sort of veteran involvement. And I think the rising tide lifts all boats phenomenon. So if you are a veteran sitting here, it's about giving back to your community. It's giving back to the veterans. If you've had a successful career and you still have a successful career, it's about pulling somebody else up from the bootstraps and taking them along with you, giving them advice, just being there as a voice. I think that's important. So unfortunately, I don't have the stories of going through a process or going through TAPS or having a hard time transitioning. But what I do have is being on the other side and wanting to give back to the community, the veterans, the women's, minorities, whatever the case is, so they can have a successful career like I've had. And I'll hold it.
Now thank you. Next, amazing. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah. Oh yeah. Y'all can thank Carrie for the Panera Bread and the sprinkles. Please take a cupcake. Okay? No food left behind. Okay? Take it all. We don't want it. But we're gonna move on to the next question, and I'm gonna give this to Mo. And if anybody wants to, piggyback off that, you can have a minute to discuss that answer. So here it is. What have been positive changes in your life after leaving the military?
Ooh, that's a good one. The possibilities, the positive changes that have happened is that I found me again, which a lot of us are still becoming or still trying to identify who we are. And being able to give back to my veteran community on my terms, in my own way. I had to realize that sometimes I used to volunteer so much and deplete myself, and then realize I don't have to be associated with something huge or a big machine. I can give back in my own way. So I started She Wins Network, being able to do my outreach and community service, helping people with their mental health, helping people, guiding them, helping them with pain and all these different things. And that was a big change for me, being able to do that and finding me and taking charge of my health, right? And I think that was the biggest thing. And I think it's the most powerful thing is to decide you want to heal. So once you're able to heal, then you're able to do anything. You're a rock star, So I think that's the biggest thing. And I'll pass it over to Olivia because I know Tony said, hurry up and wrap it up.
No, I have to agree. I think it's, finding yourself, I think that's the big thing. And I think that story about me when you go through a transition. And like I said, I wanted to end my life. And when you come through that, I talk about I am the storm. It's more than a hashtag. It's a conversation piece. And it's learning to find yourself in so many different ways. And I talk about that. It's finding you. And I say that in that way of find the person that you once were, that little girl, that little boy that you put away, the person that you didn't want to share with the world because you were afraid that if you shared that person, that you would be ridiculed. That is a person that you have to connect back with. And that is the purest form of you. Because at the end of the day, that is purely who you are. And I think we have to get beyond being worried about what other people think and just finding the joy within yourself and just having the courage to tap back into that and being okay with that. And just finding happiness. And all of that is such easy to say, but it really is a journey. And some days are easier than others. There are days that are light and there are days that are dark. And once you've been touched with mental health, it's understanding that it is a journey and it never ends. So it's finding that resource, finding that your true self, and holding on to that.
How long you have? No, for me, it was freedom and choice, right? So it was the choices to do what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it, and then not getting the fear of being court-martialed or being unsatisfactory conduct of an officer, things like that. So, yeah, for me, it's after I left the military, which I love. I have a family of friends, right? There's nothing like walking into a room and knowing that there's another veteran there, right? Regardless of when you served, what service you've served, and what theater or what job, you automatically you have the camaraderie, which is nice. So, yeah, so freedom and choice, I think, is important.
All right, we're here. Sorry, y'all. It's just a glitch. But positive, and I'm gonna answer this as well because it's been my journey. And I don't know if y'all know this, but my sister right here, Moji Sola Adu and Olivia Nunn, these are my literal sisters for life. We are family, and Carrie is our new sister. But through the process, we talk about suicide, we talk about depression. One thing my therapist said, and that's one thing that I always consistently did in the Marine Corps, was go to counseling, because we couldn't actually go to therapy or I would lose my clearance. So I went to the doctor. Now that I go to a psychotherapist, she told me, you have to navigate through your depression. You have to navigate through your trauma and learn how not to just live with it, but thrive with it and be okay and not be so down. Like they say, there's some highs, there's some lows. So when you look at us here, look at yourself, because we're successful because we've allowed ourselves to be vulnerable, even when we didn't want to. So even today, if you feel like you can't do it anymore, just remember that you matter, I love you, and you can make it the next day. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's hard to get up every morning and have the capacity to continue to serve when people that look like you, people that are veterans like you, that really don't support it. So it's good to have positive people in your life, people that are transparent, and also being able to identify what it is that you need to clean up. So I want you to leave here today knowing that you're not by yourself, okay? So that's all I got to say on that, but here goes the next question. And after we do the questions, guys, guess what? Y'all get to ask questions. And I'm going to say this before I go to the next question. Hear me. There will be no disrespect. There will be zero tolerance of interrupting anybody. We're going to show respect. We've all worn a uniform, been a part of a family that wore a uniform. Let's be respectful. And if you do have questions that you feel like